Hello everyone. So I've made a little calculator to help you choose your champion points. Now, the best way to do that is you can hop in game, fill in all of these things that are not grayed out. The gray ones will be calculated automatically, and you fill in your stats. So if you hover your mouse over the left side here, it will do a little explanation of what each of these means. For example, flat, stamina, or magicka, so whichever one of is higher, is base 12,000. You have them coming from your attributes, coming from enchants, food buff, equipment, racial passives. The multiplier is coming from these things. So things like Warhorn, Inner Light, if you have it slotted, and all the information is over here. Now you fill in for each of the stats, and then you also need to figure out how much of your damage is coming from each of the damage types. So direct and damage over time are two counterparts. You will notice if I change this, 10%, this should automatically change to 90. I'll keep it to what it was before because these are stats for my Arcanist. So if I scroll down here, you can also modify the uptime. So for example, for Force of Nature, you won't always have 100% uptime. Let's say we get 80% uptime on 3 stacks, it would look something different. If you can't get 3 stacks, you can only get 2 stacks, so that is based on your effects. Let's say you only have a flame enchant to proc burning, but you don't have a way to proc poison, so it would only get 2 stacks, right? It looks slightly different. I will keep it at 100%. Now, Exploiter is an interesting one because this is the uptime of off balance. The theoretical highest possible uptime is 7 seconds and then 22-second downtime. So this would be 7 over 22. However, if you're looking at burst phases, then you might want to modify that. Or if your uptime is lower, you might want to modify that. So burst phases are very important, especially for things like Archcustodian, where you have a 12-second window to damage the boss, and then he becomes shielded. So in that 12-second window, 7 seconds is going to be 7 over 12 instead, which is a slightly higher uptime, and you want to maybe optimize for that one specific window. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind that you can change. So once you have filled everything in, we get this table, which will tell you what your optimal champion points will be. You will notice Force of Nature is very strong as long as you're missing penetration. So I'm missing penetration over here, but if I change my penetration to the maximum body, which is 18,200, you will notice Force of Nature is kind of useless. And I just noticed this is the wrong font. Yes, there we go. Also, this is the wrong font. Only human. Okay. So how do we figure these out? The best way is if you have the Combat Metrics add-on, it's incredibly helpful to hop into the game. Now, if you want to be very precise, ideally you would remove all of your champion points, so you're not parsing with them, and then perform your rotation without them, and then check what stats are. However, this should not be necessary. The differences will be minor. So after you have performed your rotation, if you have killed the boss, whatever you want to optimize for, maybe a crash fight, maybe the training dummy, you will see we have all of our damage sources over here, and you want to click on the type that you want to figure out. So for example, let's say we want to figure out how much of our damage is coming from damage over time effects. You click on the first damage effect, you hold down Control, and you see I just crouched because Control is my crouch. You hold down Control, and you click on every other source of that same type of damage. So let's say we're looking for damage over time. So all of these, I will click on them. These are damage over time. This. If you're not sure, there's a very good website that I will link in the description that can help you figure it out. So for example, this can be kind of convoluted, like calling in which one, what does this mean, right? So there is this website. from USB, which is really great. If you're not sure what a skill does, you can just go here. These are the skill coefficients and all important information about skills. I will press Control F here to search, and I will type in Scalding Rune, for example, if I want to figure it out. And you will notice there's 2 damage effects. And this is number 2, this is number 3 over here. So what does that mean? Here we go. When triggered, the rune blasts all enemies in the target area for 2, right? So that's that, which is AoE and direct. Right here, we see that. And then an additional 3 over however many seconds. So this is over here. I know this is single target damage per time effect. Okay, so this is what we have clicked here. And up here in the top left corner, it will show you what the percentage is of your total damage. So I've selected all the damage types I wanted, and up here it shows us that's 83.7% of our total damage. So that's why if I hop into the calculator, that's what we have over here. Right, so that's 16.3. This makes this 83.7. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat, which is that every skill will be affected slightly differently. You can also check the details of what each champion point slottable does. So for example, I have made this table here, which is calculating it. So all this is based off of ability metric. And I've explained ability metrics in my previous video, which is how damage is calculated in ESO. And this is your specific ability metric. Now, all of these will be comparing that the new champion points to the old one, right? So let's say Arcane Supremacy, you see it is highlighted in green that this will modify the default value for our base stamina. So the base one is 32,000, but this would modify it to 33.3, adding 1300. And now the ability metric also changes. And then we do a comparison between the new one and the old one to figure out what is the percentage increase. So you will notice Arcane Supremacy is about 1.19% over here because of that comparison. For the damage increases, it is important to note that this damage done, this will be variable based on each skill. So you might get skills that are boosted a little bit more. So there might be a slight error over here. Okay, so you might notice, let's say we are benefiting, we're getting 3.59 from Thaumaturge, but let's say this was 135% for a slightly different skill. Maybe it's not flame damage skill, right? Flame damage get a little bit of a bonus to damage taken if you have engulfing flame debuff, for example, or if you have Encratis. Okay, so there are certain things that are only buffing a certain skill or a certain damage type. You will notice now we have 3.7% increase from Thaumaturge. So this is slightly different as compared to 3.59. So it will be a very minor difference. In the general scheme of things, in the grand scheme of things, you probably don't need to worry about that. Unless you want to be incredibly precise, in which case, these things are not gonna make a difference. Don't worry about it. I was thinking about making it better, but like I just don't want to. Like to gain a tiny amount of extra precision on specific skills. No. Just no. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully this will help you guys. Just a heads up. When you click on the link in the description, you might need to create a copy of this document. So if you click up here on the file and click make a copy, this will create a new copy of the document so we can actually edit it, because you will not be able to edit this document unless you make a copy. Okay, thanks for watching.